The big news that no one is talking about this week is the EU's taking steps to break up Google's monopoly on digital advertising. I'm John Cooper from Counterpoint Politics here with Desmond Price, host of the Independent Thought podcast, and Dr. Erica of Cocktails and Capitalism. And we'll be talking about what this means for you right here on the left wing. So everyone here uses Google. But what you might not know about Google is they make the vast majority of their money from advertising. Google ads. It's what I do for a living, advertising on Google ads, on social media and all of that. And it is a major part of our modern economy. The European Union regulators are hitting Google with an antitrust charge, saying that the only way to satisfy their concerns about unfair competition is going to be for Google to sell off parts of its ad platform to other companies. The problem that is being created by Google is that they have vertical control of the industry. They own the browser that you're probably watching this in right now. They own the website that you're watching this on. They own the distribution of the ads on that website and in that browser. And they're able to use that leverage to basically make it impossible for other sorts of ad software to be competitively viable on Google Chrome, on YouTube, on everything. And so they are able to use that leverage to take 30 cents of every dollar that is spent on advertising on their platforms. If anyone is aware of, the classic breakup of the five Hollywood, I think it was five at the time, back in like the 50s, the breakup of the Hollywood studios, the competitive reasoning for that was, well, they were the ones making the movies, and they controlled the distribution and were able to use that to monopolize the industry. Well, that's exactly what's going on here with Google. It's essentially as if Goldman Sachs and Citibank teamed up and bought the New York Stock Exchange. It creates so many conflicts of interest that hurts us as the consumer. And so the EU taking these steps, along with earlier this year, the US DOD is taking steps to limit Google's monopoly power. And this has major implications, not just for Google, but on all of the tech monopolies we're seeing dominate so many of our communications channels. So Desmond, Erica, what do you guys think about this?
I'm surprised to see this happening only now, because, from my understanding, Google's had this position forever. Just out of curiosity, have you ever regularly used another browser besides Google at all?
Not since last
right. Yeah. Some people you might find your random person who uses Bing or some other form, but
Bing actually don't. No one understands how big Bing is. It actually makes billions of dollars because it is and this is another monopoly issue.
Yeah.
Because PCs are owned by Microsoft.
Yeah.
The operating system defaults to using Internet Explorer, which defaults to using Bing. And so for an entire generation of baby boomers who don't know how to change that, Bing is the default search engine. And they kind of sap up that by default because, again, they have a vertical control of the industry in a different way. That's just another example of people don't always think about it. But yeah, no, there's very few competitors in this marketplace, and they have a massive amount of control over our lives.
This is the topic this week that I know probably the least about, but I was wondering, I know that this has implications also in terms of data privacy. And I heard some people say something like, part of, if we were to break up this monopoly, it would be distributing that information more broadly, and that then data privacy for individuals would kind of go out the window to a certain degree, which I don't know exactly how to evaluate that claim. And I was just wondering if either of you could speak about how data privacy intersects here.
So it wouldn't necessarily have this specific case wouldn't have too much to do with data privacy. This is more antitrust. Because what the EU is saying that it's intending to do is to force Google to sell off like Google Ads, or to sell all like one of its platforms, so it doesn't have that vertical integration. Whoever it sells to is going to have the same level of access to your information. It's still going to be able to sell your information to the highest bidder. That's not going to change with this. All of this really changes is increasing the amount of competition in the marketplace, which I think, Erica, what you're talking about here presents a really good question for all of us in when it comes to data privacy, when it comes to online advertising, when it comes to how, in my opinion, these platforms, be it YouTube or Google or TikTok or Twitter or whatever, have become the public forum space. How, like, in my opinion, I think that we should treat these as public utilities and regulate them as such, instead of allowing them to continue to be private companies who profit off of our data without us having really any choice in the matter. That's where I stand with it. I was wondering if you guys felt similar.
I mean, the very least they could do is at least share the profits of our data. You know, that's the very, very least they could do. But yeah, you know, if you break up Google and say that you have to sell Google AdSense or to some effect sell off part of your company, then yeah, you're increasing competition in the marketplace, and that's definitely a good thing. But Google might try to like hold on to that power by kind of going down that road that you're talking about, Erica, claiming that like, well, somebody else has access to it, will someone's privacy be more at stake? You know, to that effect, just really blanket statement. I'm glad that the EU in particular has data privacy laws that they enact. The US needs to enact more as well, because we don't really have any, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I think that any company who has access to our data should be protecting that data. And if they're not currently protecting that data, we need to be having governments come in and make sure that they're protecting that data, no matter who is in charge of it. But yeah, no, I think this is definitely a good thing to see, you know, some of these companies get broken up a little bit. Kind of along the same line, I was glad that the Biden administration just this past week actually blocked the merger between Microsoft and Activision. So these are things that we're seeing taking on right now that, as I thought we were going to just like do the slow march to a century ago where companies are just consolidating and consolidating, at least we're seeing some instances somewhere around the globe where there's at least some effort to block some of these companies from getting a little too big, a little too solidified, because it's historically, we've all seen, it's never been a good thing for people at the bottom, people like us, consumers, who have to deal with a monopolized industry of any form.
Now, Desmond, you just said it's not good for consumers to deal with a monopolized industry of any form.
Yeah.
But I also hear a lot about how economies of scale are able to make things cheaper and more widely available. So why is it that a company owning an entire industry, why would that be a bad thing? Because wouldn't they be able to use an economy of scale to deliver the products to the consumer in a cheaper, more readily available way?
If they choose to. What if they don't? Yeah, I mean, like that's really like the answer to the question, right? Like there's no code of ethics with capitalism. You know, it's just basically, it's, do you want to do it? Oh, I don't want to do it. Okay, well then we're all at your mercy then. Right. And that is the crux of the problem, is the fact that if you leave that much power in the hands of a very few amount of people, then we're all just left wondering what they're going to do versus having any say over that outcome by being able to go to a competitor because they don't have one.
Yeah. And then they could up the cost of everything that we are saying online. You know, they would have us just bent over a barrel if this monopoly is continues to consolidate its power and grow. It's kind of funny to me almost that they're like trying to attack Google when, as you say, John, like they have like vertical control of this industry. They have, I mean, it's already such a ridiculously huge monopoly that like it feels like, oh, now you guys are trying to do something about this. Like feels a little too late when it's literally like everyone relies on Google every day.
And the monopoly and the fact that all of their money's coming from this advertising, it does mess things up for us. Like, I don't know if anyone else listening to this right now has noticed, but in the last couple of years, Google search has become way less effective at finding information because it's entirely tailored to selling ads now. Like that it's entirely optimized for that very purpose. And so using it as a search engine, it's no longer like the search engine that it once was. It's changed. We used to have better search engine technology that delivered what we wanted, and now we get what is paid for. And it hurts everyone, and there's really nothing we can do about it. And for the people who are like, well, it's Google's technology, why don't you just make a better version then if you think it can be done? A, that's not how it works. B, even like that's the whole point of breaking up this monopoly, because Google's currently able to say, like, anyone who's trying to make ad revenue from a new search engine, they can use their vertical control of the industry to say, well, no, you're never appearing on Google Chrome. And then no one's going to use it because you can't be on Google Chrome. And they can, or you can't be on YouTube. You can't advertise these ads on YouTube. Well, boom, that's like a massive chunk in the industry that new competitors are not able to get into because of this antitrust behavior.